Yeah, you
I
don't
could just
know.
do coaching with nothing and just be like, here's the fee, and you pay to talk to me directly. You know?
No, that's why, and that's the thing is like for me, like I need that's the difference part is like I don't have time to do really one-on-one and like coaching more of mine is like I'll do a call, but even for me, my call is gonna transition to probably a I'll probably transition once I get my courses built, probably to a once a month call. Unless it's
Yeah.
like a high ticket. Like I'm gonna just transition to it to a monthly call. You know what I mean? My low ticket. It'll basically be a subscription based webinar. If you, that'd be the easiest way to put it.
Do a bi-monthly call. That way they get more touch points. It's only one more call. Do bi-monthly and then
Oh, every other week, you mean?
yeah, that's what I would do.
Yeah.
And then
Because what's
yeah,
happened is they're getting too. There's no like. I feel like they're getting too much call, and there's no reason for them to come to the event.
yeah, yeah.
And the problem is they don't ask questions, so they're not engaging. And then we get off the call and they just DM. I'll just flood my DMs.
Oh, well, you got to tell them. You got to tell them straight up. Look, bring your questions to the call. Bring a notepad. Write shit out. You know, don't be texting me afterwards with a million questions. And tell them the reason is you want to answer them in front of everyone because then it's valuable to everybody. Like
Yeah.
if you just
Well,
answer each person
there's
individually.
you know how it is. So that's what I did. So they sent me some good mess questions, and so it did help me with um you know what I mean, having a good talking point for tonight. So I'm going to use this as an example, their questions, but I'm going to tell them this is what you guys need. Now the next step is you guys need to write those down like you're saying and
Mhm,
bring those to the call, right? Like that's
mhm.
the whole point. And like and another example that's because these people are business owners, Sean, like we do a weekly call or we do a weekly meeting 8:30 on Tuesdays with our company, and we struggle with the same thing with the employees is they want to bring problems, not solutions,
Yeah.
right? So the whole point of so I have to first explain to them like if you guys can't bring your questions to the call, I know you're not going to do it with your employees, right? Like if they're not willing to fix.
Well, you got to tell them that. Be like, dude, like come to the call with a problem and a fucking solution for it, and right,
Yeah.
and then I'll tell you if that's the right solution or not, and we'll kind of expound upon your answer, and then that type of thinking is going to lead into better leadership in your employees and your company. So you got to hold them
Yeah.
accountable. You got to hold them
No, and
accountable.
that's my biggest downfall is that I haven't pushed them hard and I'm getting that's where I'm at now is I'm like, hey guys, like I want to help you guys, but if you don't engage in the calls and you don't ask questions and you didn't DM me afterwards, like you're not going to get any value out of this. The whole point is you bring your questions to the call and we all solve them together. That's the same thing they have to do with their employees. Like if you're going to have an employee meeting, you bring the problems to the meeting. And then as a group, that group, if it's 5 people, if it's 3, if it's 2, that group comes up with a solution, an actionable plan when you leave, right? That's the whole point. It's
Yeah,
not
no, that's
not everybody brings problems. Everybody brings leaves the meeting with no solution. That's not what it's about.
yeah, and I mean this is just you getting more familiar with the coaching process too, and
Yeah,
learning about people, and like it's just going to require you to be a better coach and leader. And
it's. I think in a year I'll have it perfected. It's going to take me a little bit of time here,
I mean, dude, look how much you've already grown in the last
dude.
6 months, personally and professionally.
Oh, it's like those calls. You remember after I got off my first call, like no one's ever going to call again. No one's going to get on. I told Michelle, I was like we did that first call and we were walking down the driveway to the barn to the cows, and I said nobody is going to come. I said I think anybody's going to show up next week to the
Oh my
call.
gosh.
No,
Hey,
that's what I told her. I thought, and then I told, and she goes, "How many people?" And I said, "This morning there's 125 people, and by probably 5 o'clock there'll be 130 in there."
wow, that's amazing, dude. And then not just that, but it was really cool seeing that picture you posted of you and her, like
Oh,
sometime
isn't
last
that
year.
crazy?
Dude, fuck, I didn't realize how big you were. Like, it's cool because it's been a progression, and like month by month, bit by bit, you're slowly getting in better shape. It's really cool to see though the big chunk
Yeah,
of time difference and the change in you. And dude, it's awesome. So I mean, I think this year is going to be a really big year for you. I think that you could literally just take over the whole industry as far as coaching and your niche because no one else is doing it.
yeah. No, there's no, there's no one else doing it. And like what I like about it is like bringing in people like yourself and whoever, like just that, like even what we did at the mastermind, like bringing the difference, like Victor and you and me and whoever, like we bring a completely different dynamic. And so these people have never been around that ever in their life. Like you're never going to get
Ugh.
like the discipline, the Victor's craziness, the business side of it. Like you just don't, you don't go to like we're all completely different in our own area. So we bring something completely different to them.
Yeah, no, 100%. I love that. And the big thing for your events is going to be getting new people at the events you can convert into clients from the event. So like I think that's the angle this year. So why would you bring in a guy like, Keaton or other speakers? Well, you want to attract people who haven't been around you or not working with you. And then the angle is, hey, this is coaching for ag specific and trucking, but honestly, like I can help you with your business if you're not in that industry, because I can help you understand your financials, make sure you're doing your P&Ls properly and you have your bookkeeping done. Like that's going to lead to more profit at the end of the year. I can make sure you have the right systems in place. I can make sure you understand how to recruit and like what culture really needs to be like within the company. Like all of that is it can transition into other businesses. So that's like something to think about too as you grow. Like, okay, I have these ag and trucking specific coaching calls every week, but your course or another course could just be a business course for business owners in different trades and industries.
Right. Yeah.
And
No,
that's like big picture, long term.
no, and that's what and that's where like I feel like there's going to be the difference is going to be because it's not just about finance or marketing or people or business. Like it all hooks together. You know what I mean? Like if you're doing really successful financially in your business, but you're letting your body go to shit, like you're just going to die or be fat or overweight and not want to do anything. And I mean, that's what happens to, especially I see guys like in their 50s and they're just totally like they're screwed. Like they can't do anything. Like I mean, you deal with this all the time. That's what you do. I mean, and it doesn't matter if, I mean, even if they're not successful, they go down that route. That's kind of what happened. I mean, I felt like I was successful, but I didn't understand my financials. And once I realized that I wasn't as successful, I had a lot of assets, but my business was just kind of half-ass running. Yes, it was growing, but it wasn't like smooth. Then you end up in that state of mind once you realize it. That's what I try to prepare them for is like, hey, here's the deal. Once you actually understand your numbers in your business, you're going to probably figure out that you're not making that much money. And then now you're going to feel like you're defeated. Right?
Yeah. Like there's a big difference between revenue and profit.
Dude, so much. And so they're chasing the revenue, right? And then when they actually, that's why people don't want to understand their financials because they don't actually want to know why it's fucked up. That's the problem. Like their whole, that's why most people's tactic is just sales, grow, and the profit's just going to come with it. Well, they're not tracking the profit, right? And so when you stop and slow down and you close out your books and then you start to find the profit, that's what happened to me is my CFO, we started to close the books out. Then when he came to me and said, you're burning $250,000 a month, it put me in a really bad place because you instantly feel like you're being self-defeated. Like everything that you built, you're like, why did I do this? And that's what he was telling me. He's like, I don't know why you do this. As hard as you work, I don't know why you're working this hard to make no money.
Yeah.
And so, that's what happened to me is then I ended up in the hospital and, went down that whole entire road. Me and him, basically figured out how to fix the business. And then I was like, shit, I got to get out and I got to meet people and network and learn more about business. And that's what that picture's from is right there. So it's right after I went through all that. And that picture that I posted, was that point. That was like that first event that I went to. And we went up there and I'm so glad we took that picture because then I have that, as that memory. Because at that point, I had no focus. And people, a lady in the 10-4 coaching group, Connie, I think it was, commented on it. She goes, you can see the difference in just the way you look. versus the picture of you and Michelle, like the confidence.
Oh
Like
yeah. Yeah.
it, yeah. So and when I first started the 10-4 coaching, one of the first things that I talked about, which you talk a lot about, is like that self-belief. Like people don't want to go out and like use even social media to promote their product or their business if they're not self-confident in the way they look even, right? They don't.
Oh yeah. I mean, most all excuses that people have, like they'll say, "Oh, I don't like social media." No, that's not true. You just have a fear of being seen. Like you have a fear of being judged. Like anything that people make an excuse about comes back to their own fears and insecurities. Right? Like, yeah, social media is a really bad place for a lot of reasons. There's a lot of hate, a lot of toxicity, a lot of judgment. I don't see any of that. Why?
Right.
Because I'm not looking for it. I don't think that way. All I see on social media is massive potential to connect with people, to build relationships, to change lives, to change the world. Like that's all I think about. Social media is the greatest tool ever invented for self-advertising, branding, building a business. Because you can recruit people that you wouldn't see in person. You can connect with people across the country, across the world. So for anybody not to use it, they're just ignorant. And ignorant just means not knowing. It doesn't mean they're stupid. They might be pussies, right?
Yeah.
But
Just, yeah. Yeah.
they're just ignorant to the power it possesses and how
Yep.
much it can help them, you know? And so especially in your industry, like you got guys who are living out, you know, in the country, man. They're old school farmers. They're working their butts off every day. And they're like, what do you mean social media? Like, isn't that for the kids? You know,
Yeah.
TikTok and this and that. And so it's educating them. Like the newer generations get it because they're growing up with it. The older generation,
Yeah. They
they
don't
don't
get
get
it.
it because they didn't
No.
grow up with it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I get it. Well, yeah, did you get that thing I shared with you? I just kind of went, I thought it'd be kind of cool to go over some like talking points or something.
Yeah. Well, I got one. It looked like it was an outline for your coaching program.
Oh, there was different ones in here, but one was not that tab. There's one that I just had that was yours. It
Okay,
was
let's do this. You just bring up a topic and we'll talk about it.
okay.
Go off that list.
Yeah, I'll just go
And
off the. I'll just go off the. That's why I did it. I did trying to put a little bit of structure into these. You know what I mean? Because I scroll all
yeah,
around. So,
yeah, and then
um,
go off the list, ask me questions, I'll you know, whatever, I'll
yeah,
ask you stuff, and then let's chop up some reels and do like some
yeah,
collaborations and
no,
post
we
on
will. We'll
Instagram.
short. Yeah, well, yeah, no, that's why I figured it'd be great because I'm recording this and Dimitri can cut stuff and we can move. Yeah, Zimmy can use it and I can use it. So that's what I thought would be good.
Perfect.
So, um, all right. So we've got Sean Crane here today. Sean's got the Unstoppable 360, right, Sean?
365, bro. 365.
365 right there. So 365. And Sean's one of my, I will say I started out with a fitness coach and then Sean's got two programs. So you've got one where you help, I'm going to let you explain this better than me, but you help men, men and women or just men
Mainly
with
men.
mainly men with fitness. That's one program, right? Is that majority of what that calls about is the fitness
Yeah,
side?
I mean it's personal development. So it's like
Okay.
it's multifaceted. It's mindset, fitness, nutrition, and habits. Like if a guy comes to me, he's like, Sean, I want to be a better version of myself. There's a lot that goes into that, right? Well, getting healthy and fit is a major component because when you're fit, you feel better. You're happier, you have better energy. So then what do you think happens when you're around your wife and kids or when you're running your business? You're a better version of yourself, so you get better results. So I teach those guys how to like develop self-mastery, right? So there's that program. And then there's the business and social media coaching, which is newer. And the reason I started doing that is because people kept asking me about my own growth in my business, my social media presence. They know that I just came out of prison 5 years ago and now I have a 7-figure coaching business, right? How the heck did you do that? So I created a whole new program just for social media marketing, sales, and how to build an online coaching program. And you know, that shows guys literally how to go from 0 to 10K a month, how to create content, how to generate leads and sign people up for their programs.
And for everyone, that's basically what Sean helped me do is I went to Sean, I went to what we kind of crossed paths at Andy Elliott's and then you messaged me. We talked about fitness, mindset, and then you explained to me that you had this other program where you help people become coaches. And so I had already been working on that path. Annie had planted a seed, but I needed someone to help me actually implement it and make it happen. That's the piece where a lot of people don't make things happen, right? Like somebody plants the seed or they go to an event, but then who's going to work with you to actually make that happen and take those steps? And that's what Sean did. So we built a CRM, we picked a date, right, for an event. And you told me this is the hard date. This is what we're going to do. I'm like, there's no way we're going to be able to do it. I mean, I was like, how are we going to, I was like, you had an event. I think was Victor's like right before that. And then I got married like a week or two before that, or right. It was like all just bam, bam, bam. And Sean's like, we're just going to do it. And I'll tell you what, like that pushing through the summer with the wedding and all the fitness stuff that we were doing, like pushing that hard, it felt so good getting through that. And every single target we hit, like we did not miss one, right? Like you went to the events, like we went to Victor's, we did my event, like every single thing that we set those targets for, we achieved.
Yeah. And I
And
mean,
and
dude,
if I wouldn't have had you to push me to do that, that stuff wouldn't have happened. I will
yeah,
guarantee
well,
that. I would have procrastinated.
I mean, if you really want to have success in life, especially in business, the best way is to find somebody who's doing what you want to do and listen to them. And because then you get the very new nuanced details of step by step how to proceed. Like you had an idea of what coaching was, you had an idea of how to use social media. But when you can really get down in the trenches with somebody and like, no, this is everything that you have to do step by step. And then a lot of times it's you need accountability. You hire a mentor so you have certainty because they have results that you want, but then it's being able to take risks and trust the process and take massive action. Like speed of action and massive action are what produces results. Because a lot of this stuff you do figure out as you go, and it makes more sense to you as you experience it. So you need to get that experience as quickly as possible. And a lot of people are worried about it not going the way they want it to go, about failing, about something going wrong. So they procrastinate. When in reality, you need those experiences because they teach you how to do it better, how to improve. So that's why, like, I'm all about speed of action and massive action. Something that I think about right now, I'll implement as soon as we get off this call. Like, I don't even remember what I did last month, Jesse, because I've done so much this month
Right.
already, every day, all day long. And that's how you produce results, man.
So that brings up a good topic. I mean, basically it's the growth mindset, right? That you're constantly looking to grow. Like, and then you need to understand the power of growth versus thinking about growing and actually taking those steps. Like, I think that's people know that they want to do more and they know that they want to get better, but they just can't find that piece of that motivation, right? Like they just can't, or it gets difficult and they just like, and as you're growing, like you're going to have growing pains. And that's where I think most people go back to failure. They just don't quit. They give up. They're like, this is too tough.
Yeah. I
Just
mean, the only real failure is quitting because you're going to fuck up.
right.
You're going to make mistakes. Things aren't going to go the way you want them to go. But that's when you learn. That's when you get resilient. And that's when you really grow from that life experience. So most people want a perfect plan before they start. And they're letting the fear of what might happen prevent them from really taking action. And so human beings are all, we all have fear inside of us. All human beings have fear. It's a natural thing. But the greatest fear that humans possess is fear of the unknown because we
Right.
want to have things that are predictable in front of us that we can see. It's a survival thing, right? But
Yeah.
your visions, your dreams, your goals, your next level is created in the unknown. It's facing that fear, saying, fuck that. I feel this way, but I don't care. Nothing's going to stop me, and trudging along and moving forward. And honestly, 9 times out of 10, you realize the fears were magnified in your own mind, and it's not that scary once you get out there and you figure shit out as you go. Like
Oh yeah. You
human
just get
beings are
right through it.
so resourceful and resilient. And like if you want something bad enough, you will not be denied. But when you're letting fear dictate your behavior, you're going to just stay stuck and you're not going to make a change.
Yeah. I remember when I started running last year and you sent me my fitness. Well, it was like, don't even think it was that much, like a mile maybe or 3 miles. I can't remember what we started out with. And I used to run, like not, I wasn't a runner, but I used to run, and it had been quite a few years, like 5 or 7, and I couldn't even make it like a half a mile. My legs would cramp, and I was like, I'd go to Kyle's, and he's massaging them, like every other day, and it was like, and now I can do 5 miles, and
Wow.
like it doesn't hurt, and I'm not a light person. I mean, I'm 220, like I was less, but because I've been bulking up, right? Like I need to cut, but I'm like, I'm more worried about muscle right now. But like, that's not easy to run 5 miles. And I ran 10 before I went on vacation again. I've only ran 10 twice. I ran 10 before the wedding, and then I ran 10 about 2 weeks ago. So, but like
I want you to sign up for the Eugene Marathon. Just a little side note. Anyway, keep going.
I thought, all right, I'll do it. Are you gonna come up to it? You haven't
I'll come up.
did you get
I'm
your
still I'm putting off my surgery, so I'm supposed to get surgery on
okay.
my meniscus. But
All right.
the only thing I can't do is run. I can do
Okay.
the Stairmaster for
Well,
cardio. I can lift.
when you get it fixed, Sean, we'll do it. We'll do a run.
We'll do a run. I'm like, dude, do I really want to be in a brace for X number of weeks? But it's one of those things you just gotta take care of. But
Yeah.
back to what you're saying, like, look at that progression going from a guy who couldn't
That's
even finish a mile to a guy who can run 5, 10
it's
miles.
like 6 months.
But now we're talking about a marathon. So this is such a perfect metaphor for life and facing the difficult stuff in front of you that's going to help you to become a better version of yourself. Like, especially for business owners and just people in general, being physically fit is the number one skill set that you can develop. Like, yeah, you need to be a good person. Like, you need to be able to share love with people and be a good father, a husband. Like, that's super important. You want to be positive. You want to know how to make money and know how to run your business. But fitness amplifies all those things. So, how easy is it to be positive when you're physically fit and healthy versus letting your body deteriorate, carrying all this extra weight around, feeling like shit? Like, when you feel like shit, you just put on a fake smile and try to be nice to people, but they feel that energy. And it's like you're irritable around your kids. You're not as good of a leader in your business. You're not as happy. So, for everyone listening to this, like Jesse's a perfect example. His life has progressively improved as he's improved. He made the decision to get healthier, to lose the weight, to do the difficult things to get to this point, and now he's going to reap the benefits of it. And so it just shocks me how many people don't understand how being physically fit is like a superpower, especially nowadays when 40% of men are considered obese, and our country is the most obese country in the world. And people are eating all this food that like leads to mental health disorders and cancer and all these things that take their life early. Like, it's not fucking rocket science, man. Like, get physically fit. It transitions into mental toughness, discipline, positive feelings about yourself, and you show up in life as that person. So your family receives that person, your business, your employees, your customers receive that person, and they start to respond to that fucking guy, not the person that's neglecting themselves.
No, and I see, now when I look at guys and I'm like, dude, like, because I was that way, I was like, and I look at him and I'm just like, it wouldn't take much, you know what I mean? Like a little bit of discipline, a little bit of change in your eating habit, just a few things. And like for me, like I don't drink pop, and I don't do like all these, like some people, like all they have to do is like cut out a couple bad habits, right? Like they could drop 20, 30, 40 pounds so fast by just like a little bit of discipline. Like we're not even talking about running like crazy, walking 10,000 steps a day, right? Like
Yeah.
drinking a gallon of water, like not going to McDonald's, and like cutting soda, like just a couple things, but they don't have the discipline, right, to do that.
Well, I think this is a good subject because I think it's a lack of understanding as to how important those things are and how much their life will improve if they make those changes. Like, if you land a new customer, they're going to pay you X number of dollars. That's revenue, that's profit, like that's results. But a lot of people don't understand how, like, long term, if they really focus on improving themselves and do the things you just mentioned, it's going to bring 10x results, 20x, 30x.
Oh yeah.
Because
Well,
then here's the thing, your quality of life's going to improve. Like, so many people just work their ass off and then they're stressed out all the time. They're drinking at night to try to, combat that stress. Then their sleep sucks, their sex life sucks, they're irritable around their kids. It's like, what the hell are you doing, man? That's
yeah.
not the way you're supposed to be living. You can make a bunch of money, have a thriving business, have a great marriage, have a great physique, and be healthy. Like it's possible. So this goes back to why social media is so important. We can educate people and be an example for them and show them what's possible based on the changes we've made and how it's affected our lives. And
Yeah.
that's what people need to see over and over and over until something clicks. And probably like for you, you're like, damn, I need to make a change. Like I want to be better. Then you do the work, you take control of your life, you get the results, and like you're living
Like
proof of
Andy,
that process.
well, it's like that's what it took. Was it took Andy calling me fat, right? Like he called me out in a room of like 400 people, and he's like, and I knew it. Like I knew I needed to do something about it. But that really pushed me, right? And then him, with the app, making guys rip the shirts off and like doing all that stuff, like for me, it's like I want it the next time I see him, I want him to be like, wow, shit, you really changed. You know what I mean? Because like to those people, like everybody wants to look decent. I think. Like I don't think anybody wakes up and goes, you know what, I want to look like shit today. I want to be fat. Like I want to be I want to be like, who does that? Nobody wakes up and does that. And so, but we get in those ruts, like you're saying, and like I'm guilty of it. When I was, went through that where I was losing all that money and realized that things weren't that great, like you go down to a dark place. And that's where
Yeah.
people end up. And you've got to be around the right people that will motivate you and push you through those times to keep you on track and like you say, educate you. Like we'll get down to that. But like people don't, like for me, I didn't know that you should eat protein. Like we talk about eating chicken, but everybody's so conscious on calories, and we'll get to that point. But like that's I think what you were really talking about was that we aren't educated. Most people are not educated on actually how to eat decent. And for me, the hardest thing was, for one, and this is something that you really helped me overcome. Okay. And this is why I wanted to, before we get to, but like for business owners specifically, is the time management and the discipline, right? And then working out, because we're always busy. And that was always my excuse. And that was my excuse to you all the time was, how am I going to meal prep? And I tried, right? I bought a scale, I did all this, and I'm like, I just don't have enough time to do that. Like I'm trying to run all these businesses. And then you were like, dude, you just get someone to help you make your meals, like meal prep. And so luckily Kyle, was able, he meal preps, and that worked out great. And so all my meals now I get from Kyle. And Andy already told me that. He planted the seed and I knew it. Like he told me that when I went to his house at a session, he wrote down my meal plans. He told me, you need to eat this protein. He planted the seed, but I needed you to act, implement and push that through and come up with a problem solving action. That's the difference of going to an event or having someone tell you something and then working with an actual coach to push you through your problem. It's like we communicated that every week, right? Multiple times a week. We talked on the phone, and you're like, how's your fitness? What's going on? And I'm like, I was struggling through that, and you helped push me through that wall, right? And come up with a plan. And today I'm on the same plan. I drink over a gallon of water, right? I have my meal preps from Kyle. Like the system that we built is something that's my time management. And that's what business owners and people have to understand is, if you're going to eat clean and you're going to do these things, like you find a coach or someone to help you walk you through that process, because you're busy as a business owner, right?
Yeah,
Like,
we want to make it as easy as possible for you to get the results. Like we don't want to throw a bunch more stuff on your plate. Now you're distracted, you're thinking about all these different things, and nothing's going to improve, right? When you're overwhelmed. So, okay, what can we delegate, right? What can we have someone else do for you, like creating the meals that totally eliminates something you have to even think about. Now you just have healthy meals. You know that those are going to allow you to reach your goals and lose weight. Boom, that's done. And then like a lot of this is literally running your life the way you run a business. We need systems. We need to be organized. We need to be able to look at certain data or reflect on things to see like where are we going? Are we getting the results we want? And so it's really important that you have that organization and you have that mentality. And then it just takes time to turn into a lifestyle. Now it's almost an afterthought for you. This is what you do. You work out, you run, you eat a certain way. This is who like Jesse 2.0 is. You've evolved who you are, your mindset, your identity, your lifestyle. And so that's why having a coach early on is so important, because you're still thinking like your old self. You still feel more comfortable behaving like your old self. You know you want to be this guy, you want these results. But for a lot of guys, it feels impossible because you're really recreating yourself. You're evolving into a new person. So you need that coach there that's going to hold you accountable, that's going to check in on you, that's going to be hard on you when you need to, hear some real shit, until it becomes second nature and you've become that person.
Yeah. No, and that's what that was the changing point for me, was actually having the accountability, right? That the checking in, keeping me on track when I had an excuse or I had, a reason not to do what we needed to do. It was like, no, we're going to figure it out. And like, I'll give you an example right now. Running. My working out's good. My running is, I can, now that I changed my goals because I was trying to run every day and it wasn't working out. And so now my goal is 15 miles. Now that I can run 5 miles, my goal is 15 miles a week. So it allows me to be a little bit more flexible because I'm trying to get so done. It allows me to be a little bit flexible because I want to keep that cardio up, right? So if I miss a day of running, or it's the ice storm that week or whatever, I can go bust out a couple 5 miles, or maybe I do another 10, right? If there's a week where I can't run for a couple of days, I can bust a 10, wait 2 days and get a 5. And that's my plan, is through the winter, like now that I can run farther, I can up the miles per week. And that's just something that I'm trying, right? Like it's a different type of goal. And it helps me with my time management because because our weather's, I don't want to, it gets dark, right? Our window of running, and where I live, running in the dark, I don't want to get ran over. Like the roads out here aren't very good for that. So, now it'll get easier for me when we start getting more daylight, because now I can work my normal schedule and 30 at night and run and not worry about a car running me over. You know what I mean? So it's just changing those goal settings, but still staying on target. Because what happened for me, Sean, is in the summertime, I would always not work out. So I'd work out through the wintertime. This was like my schedule for 15 years. I'd work out in the wintertime. I'd get in decent shape. I've never been in shape, but I'd get in decent shape. And then come summertime, because I farm, I wouldn't work out or eat right. And so one of the big things that me and you talked about was, I was like, I want to work out through summer. That was my main goal, was not to lose that. And I pushed through that. And like, I would leave the field farming and I would go and work out with Kyle, and I'd go back to the field. Like, I would just take a 2 hour break in the middle of harvest and go do it, because that was my one goal. And I told myself, if I can make it through, this will be the first lifetime, right? If I can make it through summer and work out, I'll be able to do it forever.
Yeah.
That's what I
Yeah, I
told
love
my
that.
mind, right?
I love
That
that.
was the difference.
Well, and it just shows you like what you see value in, you'll prioritize. So if you see value in being healthy, you'll start to prioritize what you eat and working out and drinking water. Like whatever we want to achieve in life or whatever we think is valuable, it tends to get more of our attention and our time. And so that just shows you right there, like the old you or other people maybe listening to this or other people in your industry would say, oh, I can't leave during harvest time. We have so much work. I can't leave. And that's just a limiting belief. Like you can do things that you think are impossible. You can do things that you make excuses about. You can change instantly, but you can change those behaviors, but you have to change your mindset, right? They don't change instantly, but you can make a decision to be different. And that's when like that shift in your mindset is so important.
Well, for example, even for me, like recently, where me and you were talking about running, and I was telling you, this was like 2 months ago, and I was like, well, it's rainy and it's, foggy, and like, so I went and got the treadmill. I haven't used the treadmill. I hate running on a treadmill. Okay. So I bought a treadmill, set it up. I used it a couple times and I didn't like it. And I've tried them before and I just hate treadmills. Okay. And so I'm like, freaking Sean, he lives in Santa Barbara and it's warm out. And I'm putting these things in my mind, right? Like, I'm putting the excuse in mind. Then Cameron Haynes comes across my Instagram, right? You know who Cameron is, right?
Yeah.
Do you know Sean? So he lives in Eugene, like 20 minutes from me. every day he's running in the rain. O'clock at night. It doesn't matter. Cameron runs like 5 to 10 miles every day. And
Dude,
I'm
he used
like,
to run a marathon a day. That guy's super inspiring. So
but
he
right
runs.
there, I said, I'm being a fucking pussy, is what I told myself. I'm being a pussy, and I started running in the rain. And now I run in the rain.
Yeah. And dude, again, back to the point of why social media is so empowering for people and impactful. Like you were making excuses about running out in the cold. And then meanwhile, you see Cameron Haynes pop up who runs every day and he lives 20 minutes from you or whatever you
Yes,
said.
20
And
minutes from me running in the
you're
rain, and
like,
I'm over
fuck,
here. Yeah.
you're like, fuck, I have no excuses. Like, look at this guy. And here's the thing, like when I was locked up, man, and it would be raining, we would be confined to our cell because they wouldn't let you out. It's like a safety hazard on the yard. And I would just stare out my little cell window and just wish I would have given anything to be back out in the rain. Like I crack up when it starts raining and people act like it's raining acid. Like, dude, it's fucking water.
You're
Just take a
like, dude.
shower. You're uncomfortable for what? 20, 30 minutes, an hour. It's cold. Yeah, good. Those are the moments you feel the most alive, and you're going to feel so proud of yourself when you finish that 10-mile run, when you finish that 5-mile run because of that adversity. And so I had a rule when I came back home. Anytime it would rain and be stormy out, no matter if I did legs that day, if I was tired, whatever excuse I had, I would go outside and I'd run in the rain. And I'd run like 10 miles, bro. And so it's a mentality. Like if you want it bad enough, if there's a blizzard out, if it's 100 degrees, it doesn't matter. You're going to get out there and you're going to accomplish what needs to be done.
Dude, it felt so good the other day running in the rain. Like I did.
And now look at you. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And and that was just this was just a few weeks ago that I started running in the rain. And I was like, and then people like, cause people drive by, like, as I'm like friends of mine, and they'll see me running and they're like, dude, they're just like, what are you doing? And one of my friends saw me the other day and he looked at me and he just kind of like, and I thought he's thinking to himself, fuck, like I'm being a pussy is what he's thinking. Right. Like, because it's raining and I'm running and I come across people that I know. I mean, my neighbors, and they're just kind of like, they look at you like, what the hell are you doing? And it's like, but it feels good,
It
And
does.
so, like, the cold plunge, dude, I'm not a cold plunge person. Okay. I'm a pussy. When I went to Cabo, there was 3 pools. Only one was heated. There was two. There was 4 pools. 2 were heated. I got in the cold one every day. I was the only person that got in that pool that I saw. I saw maybe one other person the whole time we were there get in that other pool. And then there was in the morning, Sean, there was a like a sauna deal and a whole spa. And then part of the procedure was to get in the cold plunge. And I have never done, so the pool was cold, but then I went and did the cold plunge. And I know we'll talk about that more, but like, I was like, I have to do this. Like, and so now I'm like, because I thought, okay, is this really true? Right. You see this stuff on social media and it's like, all right, and you do it. And then I was talking to guys that were in the sauna with me and they're like, no, like it's a real deal. Like guys, like we do this at home, you feel a lot better. And so for me, it was like, I got to try something. I got to try this. And I love being warm. Like I love a warm shower, but there's something about that, it just is your mind.
There is. I mean, there's nothing that I've found in 3 to 5 minutes other than doing drugs that can shift your state of mind so fast.
And
So
that's
like I
probably a little bit better doing the cold
think
plunge for
about
you,
it. Think
right?
about it. Like you drink alcohol, you take a couple shots within a couple minutes, you feel different. You take some illegal drugs, instantaneously you feel different. But there's negative repercussions for that way of living long term. But the ice bath, the cold plunge, you get in it and you could have a bunch of stress, a bunch of racing thoughts, anxiety, a bunch of shit happen that day in your business you're just pissed off about. I'm telling you, you get in there for 3 minutes, maybe 5 minutes max, and you get out and like completely refreshed. Your thoughts are more positive, your energy's better, you feel happier. There's nothing that I've found that has such an instantaneous effect on my mood and my energy. So what I do is I have one here at home. It's in my garage every day at 4:30 before I go in and greet my wife and kids. I do the cold plunge. And actually my daughter likes to come out and watch me, so they'll hear me show up. And they're like, "Dad, you doing the cold plunge? You doing the cold plunge?" And I do it. And all the stress, all the mental fatigue from the calls, the content, all the stuff I do every day for work, it just dissipates. And I get out of that cold plunge and I'm brand new. And I feel so good going into the house. I chase the kids around. I have good energy. I'm exciting for them. I'm positive. I'm refreshed. I can help my wife. And it just like help her with the stuff at home and talk to her about her day. And it makes a huge difference in my life. So I know a lot of people will post it on social media and they talk about the mental toughness. Yeah, that's a really important component. They talk about the health benefits. That's really important too. But I like to do it in the afternoon after a long day before I want to be with my wife and kids so that I can be the best version of myself for them.
Yeah. And that's the thing is these little things, these little tweaks in your lifestyle change your whole
Yeah.
entire day. They change your whole entire week. Like they change everything about the way you live.
Yeah.
And we need that push. Like,
So you need to get a cold plunge, is what you're saying, and
no,
you're going to
yeah,
do
yeah,
that.
no, I do. And so, and so that's one of something I'm gonna have to add to my list. And so we talk about, okay, we just added something to a goal, right? Or a target. And this is a prime example. So for me, my house, the issue that I have now is my dogs. My garage is the only place that we can keep them in. We built a dog kennel. They dug their way out of it. So now my garage is a disaster because it's Oregon and it's muddy, and it's like where I work out is wrecked with mud all over everywhere. And so we have to lock our dogs up when our house cleaner comes, because one of the things we did was we hired a house cleaner to help with us being so busy, right, with the work. So it's like you have behind with you're working a lot, and so you cleaner, which is great. Then you have to put the dogs away. Well, then the dogs get out of then the dogs get out. They dig their way out of the kennel. So then you put them in the garage. Now the garage is dirty and it's a mess. So now it's hard for me to work out because of the time management, right? Now I got to go out, clean this thing all the time. Like there only is so much time in a day. And so
Yeah.
most people come up with excuses, right? Like I can't work out, right? I can't do this. So for me at this point, I've got to fix the dog kennel, right? That now becomes a priority. So to have a cold plunge, I've got to make a list of actionable items, right? I need to write those down. If the target's to have the cold plunge, what do I have to do to overcome all of those challenges to make that happen? For me, I have to fix the dog kennel so the dogs have a place they can't get out, clean the garage up, get it fixed, get everything set up, right? Get the cold plunge in there. I need to know how much the cold plunge is, right? I need to know where to get it. I need to know, does it need a certain power or whatever? All of that stuff I need to figure out so that I can actually make that happen. And then at what point do I want to do that? At what deadline, right, Sean? So it's like, what's realistic? And maybe it's, you pick a date like we talk about. April 1st, I'm gonna have a cold plunge, and you plan that out, and you just write that out, and you're like, you look at that every day, and you work on those 3 or 4 things, and that goal and that target will happen. And that's how you get shit done, is
Yeah. I
thinking
mean,
that way.
that's a great example of how, so most people, they think of some goal or objective and it seems really far away. So immediately they get daunted by it. They start to get anxious, or they don't think it's possible. They're like, fuck, I can't do that. But if they were just to take the time to sit down and do what you did, like reverse engineer it all the way back to what can I do right now to start taking steps towards that outcome, they would see that it's just a series of simple steps that they can execute, day by day or week by week, that would get them to their goal. Like, and so that's why being able to, emotionally detach from these things is important. Like we need emotion to drive us and fuel us. That's a good thing. But too many people let their emotion, restrain them in a negative way. So like too many people let anxiety, stress, and fear stop them from taking action towards the life that they want. And you have to recognize fear will always be there. Doubt will always be there. The only way that you overcome those things is you prove them wrong through positive action. And so if you really want something bad enough, like if you really want to achieve a goal in life, nothing will fucking stop you. You'll have those fear-based thoughts, you'll have doubt, and you'll say, fuck that, I'm doing it anyway. And you'll find a way. You'll make a plan, you'll strategize, and you'll get it done.
You
And
always find a way.
it's that simple. Like human beings are so resourceful, so intelligent. I mean, look at what we've created on this planet. People are flying around in fucking spaceships, like it's amazing what the human mind can do when it's engineered properly. But the masses, like most people, don't figure out how to use their mind. They use it to keep them stuck and hold them back, and they use it for the wrong things versus the good things. So like everything we're talking about, Jesse, comes down to mindset. It's all mindset. It's your thinking. It's your thought process. And what I do, like in my life, I never entertain negative outcomes and I never dwell on the negative aspects of life. I'm aware of them, but they get very little of my time and attention. All I'm thinking about is solutions and how I continue to grow and level up and make an impact in a positive way. Like I'm only solution oriented and I'm always problem solving. So if a million bad things happen right now, the first thing I would think about is how can I use this experience to benefit me? How can I learn from all these things that just happened so that I can become a better, more patient, wiser, more motivated person? Like whatever it is, there's going to be a positive outcome, and I'm going to find the silver lining in that experience, and it's going to drive me. And I'm going to pour all my focus and energy into that one thing. I'm going to start to ignore all the millions of things that happen, and I'm just going to focus on the learning lesson or the growth that I can acquire through that. And so that's how you take control of your emotional state and move forward through anything in life. Nothing will stop you with that mentality. But most people do the opposite. They dwell on all the negative, they think about it for me, they create a victim mentality, and then they exacerbate those circumstances by the way they're thinking.
Yeah. No, it's and self-sabotage all the time. I see it constantly on social media. You do a post and there's like 10 people, 20 people that are like all positive, and then there's always the other ones that are like, government, this, that, I can't do it. And it's like, dude, get out of here. Don't start that shit. You can see exactly right there by that one or two words or that one sentence that they put on, you can see that it's the whole problem is mindset.
Yeah. I mean,
Number one.
dude, how embarrassing is it for a grown man to complain about something? You have to take the time to sit there and think about it, then type it and press send or post, like on another person's video. Like you're a grown man, you live in America, the best fucking country in the world, and you're complaining about the government. Like go live in fucking Zimbabwe. Go live in the Congo in Africa, and then tell me how much you hate America. Like yeah, there's always going to be flaws. There's always going to be problems. There's always going to be issues. And I agree. Like, I look at politicians and they all look like a bunch of pussies and I don't believe anything they say. However, I'm not going to sit here and think about that or let that stop me from creating the dream life that God wants me to live. Like, God put a purpose in my heart for a reason. I have these visions and these ideas and these goals because that's the life I'm supposed to live. Nothing is going to stop me. Like, until I'm dead, I'm not going to stop. And if more people just thought that way, they would realize that the stuff they complain about really has no control over them. The only reason it does is because they believe it does.
Yep. No, they're spot on. I mean, they can't control it. And so they're going to get stuck thinking about it and they're not going to progress. And they just dwell on the same thing over and over again. And it doesn't change the outcome at all. The more they sit there and think about it, nothing's going to change for them. And that's why they're at the point they are. And those people that I know, like anybody that I see that does that I know them, I know that in 10 years, they're going to be in the same place they are, right? They're not going to progress. Their life is going to be the same. Like even for me, like I think of like, I was talking to Michelle about this the other day. I was like, even my father, like, I was like, a lot hasn't changed for him in 20, 30 years from the whole time I've known him. Like he's the same, everything about his life is the same. And I'm like, that's actually sad. Live a life and have no progression in life, right? Like never see anything. He's never been to Hawaii. He's went places. Like he's went to Vegas and he's never probably been to Mexico on vacation. He's never been to Hawaii. He's never been overseas. Like, I'm like, there's so many things out there. And those people, Sean, that are complaining about other countries, those fuckers haven't been anywhere else. They don't know how good we have it here.
Yeah. Well, Tony Robbins is one person who said progression leads to happiness. Like when you're growing, when you see positive change in your life, it equates to happiness because like being stagnant in life doesn't. Being stagnant leads to feeling bad about your life, losing motivation. Like you got to keep that spark alive, man. And one thing I've been consciously aware of since I went through my own transformation is keeping that energy and that spark inside of me alive by any means necessary. And the way I do it is I learn new things, I take action, I take risks, I get out of my comfort zone. I want to see tangible results in my life because that leads to me feeling like, damn, I'm doing something important. I'm growing. I'm not just letting this time pass by me and I'm being idle and I'm just, people like that, they're not really giving their all to life. So how could you be truly grateful if you're just letting this life pass you by and you're not really striving to be your best? Like, people will say they're happy, they're content, but there's different levels to real
Yeah.
happiness in life. And back to what you said, like, the people on social media who bitch and complain about the government, or they talk shit on other people and talk shit on your videos, and they'll make fun of you because you're educating people or because you have money and you know it all, da 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 da. Like, those people are in such a miserable place. Like, they're existing in a living hell within their own mind. Like, to have that perspective and that attitude, your life must fucking suck. And I bet you if we saw you in person, you'd be fat and out of shape. You'd be super grumpy to be around. Like, you wouldn't have good energy. You're probably broke and you're probably living a life that you hate. And here's the truth, like, you can change, but it's not going to come by being a victim or pointing the finger at other people. Like, go look in the mirror and ask yourself, is this the person I want to be? And if not, get to fucking work and shut up.
Well, and how do you think they communicate to others? How do you think if they're
Oh,
a
yeah.
business owner, how are they communicating to their family? How are they communicating to their employees? How are they communicating to their customers, their vendors? Like, if they're that way, that's that same communication that they're having online is the same way they're communicating to everybody else in their life.
Yeah. And dude, that goes back to why taking care of ourselves as a parent, a father, a husband, a business owner, a leader, like a man in society right now is the number one. It needs to be the number one priority because people pick up on your energy. And 90% of our messaging, our communication is done non-verbally. So you pick up on a person's body language, their demeanor, their energy, the way they carry themselves before they even tell you what they do or what they're selling or what they're offering. So if you want to make more money, have customers who love you, have employees that don't leave you, and retain better employees, become a better version of yourself by eating right, working out, working on your personal development, managing stress. And I promise you, you're going to get way better results in all areas of your life because of that.
Absolutely. And I think that really moves over into that leadership role, right? Is that now that you're, if you're physically fit and you're feeling better and you have the right mindset, you're going to become a better leader, right? Like, that's the deal, is now you're stepping up to the plate because you have that discipline, you have that vision, you have that like future goals. And so now once you have, and you're self-confident, right? Now you can actually build a team. You can actually, whether it's your family, whether it's your coworkers, like, it doesn't matter what it is. Like, you now are going to also attract people, right? Like,
Yep.
that was the main thing, is like, when I went through this journey, Jesse 2.0 or whatever you called it, right? Like, but now that you use social media the positive way, right? So I used to be that person we're talking about, like, that
Because you're
was me.
unhappy. So people project what they're naturally experiencing internally onto the world. So if you're unhappy with yourself because you're overweight, you're not taking care of yourself, Jesse, you're going to naturally see that on social media. You're going to find fault with people. You're projecting your own insecurities, your own guilt, your own shame onto the world. When you change yourself, you start to see the world differently. You're like, dude, hey, I saw that post, man. That was super inspiring. Like, I saw Cameron Haynes running and I had no excuses. Versus the old you would have been like, oh, fuck this guy. Like, he's out running. He probably didn't even run. He probably filmed a little clip and then went home in his comfy truck. Like, that's how those individuals think and talk, man. And it's crazy, right? But look at,
Or they say he's showing off, right? That's the next thing.
yeah.
Or somebody, oh, yeah, fucker's showing off. Look at
But
him. Blah, 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 blah.
but
And
you
they go hit
should
a six pack, right? They're like, fuck that.
you should show off in a positive way. Your kids are looking at you every day. Do you want to show off for the right reasons or the wrong reasons? You're either going to be an example of what to be or an example of what not to be. Growing up, I had all the examples of what not to be in life, right? I didn't have good leadership. I didn't have good role models. I didn't have strong men, in my life consistently that I needed. And because of that, I made bad choices and I started to really lose direction in my life. And it led me down a really fucked up path. So for those of you listening, it's not even about you. At some point, it goes beyond you, and it's about everybody else that you interact with on a daily basis and how they're affected by who you are. So, like, for me, being on this journey so long, it's not even remotely about me anymore. It's about my wife, Jessica, my sons, Mason and Preston, my daughter, Scarlett, then my extended family, then my community, then the world at large. All the people I coach and reach every day, what I do, what motivates me is to be an example for them. And a small-minded person can't understand that because They can't even care for themselves. How could they really have that type of love and affection for other people? They can't. They say they do, but they don't really feel it inside. Otherwise, they would live differently.
Yeah. No, you're exactly right. And I think, you know, I just think back to all of this transformation for me, how I was the worst person to work for. Like I was the most that old version, right? That we're talking about on social media, like overweight, like hard to deal with. Like, yeah, I frustrated and mad, and it happens to it's that's something that's going to happen, right? But the difference is how you handle those situations, how you look at it. You're not blaming things, right? You're taking ownership. Like that's a lot of this is, you know, recognizing, like, even for me with the running in the rain, I had to finally recognize and own it, right? That I'm not right. And most people can't do that. They can't finally, when that aha moment comes or that something next, like they can't own it and say, you know what, like was being stupid. I was being a pussy. Like I fucked up or whatever that is. Like I was wrong and I'm going to take ownership. I'm going to fix it. And these are the steps I'm going to take. And that leads right into their, whether it's their physical life with, or their fitness with their personal life. And then it rolls right into business. And so it's all tied together, right? Like that's the thing, is that you're going to just be a better version of yourself when it's all over with.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know, it's pride and ego. And the craziest thing to me is how a grown man can look in the mirror and be fat and out of shape, know that he's not bringing the best version of himself home to his family because he's stressed or irritable, whatever. He's drinking too much. He's eating shitty food that he knows he shouldn't. And he continues to do that. Like it's just a complete lack of self-respect and then love for everyone around you. And here's the thing, like if you're a business owner, right? Think about this. If you had to go to war right now, if we were all summoned to go to war in the Middle East or somewhere in the world, and you show up and there's this one general and he's really fat, he's over there like eating a donut, looking all sloppy, showed up late to the meeting, poor attitude. Would you want to follow that guy, or would you follow the guy over here who's looking physically stout, he's standing strong, his head's held high, he's confident, he speaks with
Ready to go,
conviction?
right? He's going to
Who
dominate.
who the fuck are you going to trust in battle? Come on now. Like it's not rocket science here. So if you're the fat guy eating the donuts, like, dude, are you serious? Do you think
Yeah,
people
you going to
really
step up? Yeah.
like, come on, like you want to be the guy that people want to follow. They want to be like you. They trust you. And a lot of people, they need that mentor, that person to guide them, to show them the way. Right now, more than ever, yeah, young men don't have good direction. They're being pulled in all these different ways, you know, social media, like influences at school, like the media, like all this shit. And we need strong men to represent everything that's good in this life to lead the way. And there's not enough of them right now. So
Yeah.
it's not just business. It's first mastery over yourself, being that man for your family, in your business, then society. Like we need to raise the standards for men all throughout society.
Yeah. Well, and then we talked about this a little bit early on, is like, then the next step is, once you get through the mindset and all of that, it's that we're not taught because we don't have the proper leadership, we don't have the right people to teach us the health and nutrition part, right? Like that's, once you realize that, okay, I need to change, right? We went through mindset. We're now to that point where, like for me, I it took me probably a year, okay, to like really realize, okay, now something needs to happen. I went to a couple events, you know, went to probably shit, 5 or 6 events, you know, Sean, before I really started to realize, like, okay, something's got to change here if I'm going to make a change. And then that was the step, was the health and nutrition. Okay, now I've realized in my mind that I need to change, but how do I change? Right? What do I eat? Because we're taught like calories, like under 2,000 calories. And so even like last night, Michelle goes, "Hey, I bought these chicken wrap things." And I was like, "Okay." She's like, "They're 34 grams of protein." And I go, "How much fat's in them?" That's the first thing I asked her. And I am not a nutrition expert by any means, but I know basics, right? And she flips it over and it was like 20 grams of fat, right? And I was like, and she doesn't know much. I'm teaching her what I've been taught. And she's like, "Ooh," right? Like, but at the store, it says 34 grams of protein. And I've told her my target is my body weight in protein. Right. And so But there's so much more to nutrition that we aren't educated about. And that's why you have to have a coach and a fitness expert to help you, because every single person's body is going to be different as well, right? Like you're going to need to tailor that, your workout, your carbs, like, and that's what you helped me with. You helped me come up with a plan that was tailored to me, that worked with my schedule, worked with what I like to eat, because we can tell someone just go eat protein, but maybe they don't, maybe they can't eat chicken. So you have to come up with a solution, right? Like you run those scenarios through with your clients, helping them understand one, what's good for you, and then coming up with solutions, right? Like a meal plan. That's one of the things that you did with me.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's body type's different. Everyone's lifestyle factors are different. Certain people have allergies to foods. Like, you got to know what are the best options, how much total calories do I need to be eating, but then what are the best types of fats, proteins, and carbs. And again, like everyone's body's a little different. Some people need more fat or more carbs than others. You kind of got to troubleshoot a little bit with it. But being educated on nutrition like it's a skill set, man. I mean, if you just do what the older generations tell you to do or what they tell you on TV, you'll be fat, you'll be obese, you'll probably be diabetic, and you'll probably die early of a heart attack. Why do you think why do you think so many people die of heart related issues? Cardiovascular disease is the number one killer in our country. And that all primarily has to do with a lack of exercise and really poor diets. Like if you eat processed food, you're fucking your body up. Okay. Your ancestors ate whole foods, meaning they killed animals, they ate them, they grew crops, they ate that, and that was it. Like they didn't eat this thing manufactured in a lab with GMOs and antibiotics pumped into it, blah, blah, blah. Like if you start researching nutrition, you'll see there's a direct correlation to mental health and why our country is suffering severely with, buzzwords like anxiety, ADHD, depression. Dude, that shit didn't even exist 200 years ago. Okay. Like people didn't have time to be fucking depressed or anxious. They were living, right? And there's other reasons
They
that's
had to
such
hunt,
a
they had to raise crops,
that,
like they had to survive, right?
yeah. So, and then you have other stuff like phones and technology, and
Right.
we're more aware of things now too. So that creates mental discord. But honestly, if you really study nutrition, there's a direct correlation to physical ailments like cancer, cardiovascular disease, all these things, and mental health. Like a lot of mental health can be fixed with good nutritional protocol. The foods that are processed that we put in our body have a really negative effect on our biology. It has a really negative effect on our biochemistry, on your neurotransmitters, your hormones. So you could become a happier, healthier, better version of yourself simply by just eating meat, like animal products, eggs, stuff like that, more vegetables, more fruits, and cutting down on processed foods. Like don't ever go to a fast food place. Like that's like last resort. If these people act like they're going to die if they don't eat. Most of you listening to this would be better off just to not eat for extended periods of time. Like
I
fasting.
saw you do a post about that going on vacation, and every time I go through an airport and like we eat, and I remember you did a post on that where you're like, you would be better off not to eat in the airport. Eat.
Yeah, I mean,
Just skip
dude, you're
it,
not.
right? Just don't even do it. Just act like there's nothing even in there, and you're gonna be better off and feeling a little bit hungry than eating any of the shit in there.
Yeah, use it as an opportunity to fast. Or what I do is I'll bring some protein powder, some nuts, and some fruit. And if I want that on the plane, I can eat that.
Let's talk. Actually, I'm glad you brought up fasting, because this is a good point of working with you, because people, you hear this, a normal person that's going to watch this or listen to this is going to say, I hear these terms about fasting, right? Like, and so for me, when we were working together on my fitness plan, I was eating my meals, I was working out, but I wasn't losing weight, because one of my goals at that point was to cut. I wanted to get down under 200 pounds, right? So you suggested that I started intermittent fasting, and the weight fell off, and I actually feel better intermittent fasting than I do when I don't. And so a couple months ago, I was bulking up. And so I started eating protein in the morning, and I was actually hammering. My biggest goal was really pumping up my protein, because I want to build muscle, and I am building muscle. Like I'm doing my blood work every month. I'm doing body scan every month and tracking that. Right. And so that's the other part of it, is that if you're not tracking what you're doing and you're just going off the scale doesn't mean shit. Like you got to do blood work, you got to do a body scan so you actually know if you're improving or declining on your fat, your all of that, right? And so for me, because one of my goals at that point was to cut, you said, hey, you should intermittent fast. And people, I hear people all the time, oh, it's horrible for you, right? Like like there's so much noise out there, I feel like, on the internet about fasting. So I wanted you to talk about that and really educate people on fasting, why it's beneficial, and why they should not let the outside information deter them from it.
Yeah, I mean, I would wonder why people would say fasting's bad for you. Like throughout history, all the ancient civilizations have practiced fasting. You know, whether you're a Catholic, whether you're a Muslim, whether you're a Native American, like if you study history, all the ancient people fasted as a way to develop more of a spiritual connection and a way to just look within themselves and learn and grow on a personal level. Because the craziest thing happens, like when you fast, all this time spent thinking about food, all these thoughts that are entertained around food. What am I going to get at the grocery store? What am I going to eat next? Where are we going to go? Like you realize how much throughout the day we think about eating. So when you're fasting, all of a sudden is you have this void of free thoughts and free space in your mind, and you start thinking about different stuff. You start thinking about things in your life that you don't necessarily reflect on, which is really cool. Then from a physiological state, so like that's the mental like clarity you get. You get a lot of clarity. You start to feel and think differently. I'm a spiritual person. Like, I love doing things that help me to feel spiritually connected. And I don't go to church. I don't read the Bible. I'm talking about like long runs, being out in nature, like meditation, fasting, sauna. The things that I do that cause me to suffer for a little bit, like adversity, require me to look within for strength. And within, when you look within, that's when you find the source, which is God. That's what I believe. That's what changed my whole life in prison, is I didn't have all these distractions, no phone, nothing to look to externally. I started finally looking within myself. And I found all the answers, and I found this connection and this feeling inside of me that I never had before. I was like, wow, oh my gosh, like what just happened to me? So ever since then, I'm always doing things that facilitate that process, right? And so that's why I like fasting, because you're suffering, you're hungry, your mind, that weakness that we all possess, is telling you, oh, eat, oh, like it's okay, break the fast, like. But then there's this other version of yourself that you start to tap into that's like stronger, that can withstand any adversity, that can suffer indefinitely. And it's because you're connecting to source, man. It's like you got to experience it to understand it,
Well,
But
how long have you just went through a big fast? What was it? How
I
long
did
was
an
that?
86-hour fast,
And
which
how
is
well how so
so here, let me break it down. So
yeah, I want you to break that down, because even for me, I'm like, holy shit, dude, 80, like.
when you first start, do a 24-hour fast. It's a mental discipline, it's a test. You're going to be hungry. Prove to yourself that you have control over what you do in life. Like, are you going to give in to the thoughts in your head about, oh, I have to eat, oh, I have to sleep in, oh, I have to have this drink? Like mental weakness, that's what it is. Discipline yourself. Prove that you can go 24 hours without eating. Okay. Then the next time you're going to aim for 48. Now, when you go to sleep at night and you haven't eaten, it's really interesting. Sometimes your sleep sucks. Sometimes you have the best sleep of your life. You have like vivid dreams. You sleep so soundly. You feel like you just slept for 10 days and it was 6 hours, 8 hours, whatever. It's really interesting. And then you wake up the next day and you're actually not hungry. Like you go through your day and you'll have more clarity, more energy, and you'll be thinking, gosh, I can't believe I feel this good just from not eating. This is insane. And the reason for that is on a physiological level, your body's hormones, right? You're pumping out adrenaline, norepinephrine. You're not bogged down by consuming all this sugar and food that causes your body, your pancreas, to release insulin and spike your blood glucose. That leads to lethargy and feeling like sedated, right? When you eat a big meal and you get all lazy, that's what's happening. It's a physiological response to too much calories. So now you're going into that 48-hour stretch, and about, right around 48 hours, the body goes into autophagy. And this is why I did the prolonged fast and why every human being should do a prolonged fast. Autophagy, look it up, Google it. There's a scientist or a researcher out of Japan who won a Nobel Peace Prize for this discovery and this information. Autophagy occurs when the body actually goes into its cells and replenishes or it fixes or discards damaged cells. This is the only time in your life that your body will do this. So essentially, like imagine a computer when you do a virus scan. That's what it is. It's going through every cell systematically, discarding the damaged cells that would eventually become possibly cancerous or lead to other things, and it's replacing them or fixing damaged cells that aren't too damaged. So when you do this, research shows that you reduce your risk of getting cancer, Alzheimer's, other preventable diseases that will kill you early by 70%. 70% by just doing this one prolonged fast, which is incredible. And so, I
How long
did
do they?
it.
How often do they recommend doing it? Like once a year?
Yeah, a prolonged fast you should do no more than twice a year and spread it out. So like every 6 months. You can do the 24-hour ones probably once a week. And then anything over 24 hours, like you want to spread it out because it does tax your body. It taxes your central nervous system. But man,
But what about fasting though? Like for like your say the people that what's a normal like a fast for someone every day?
so
Like
intermittent fasting, there's
yeah.
different windows of like eating periods, right? You can do it's like 16 and 8 or 18 and 18 and 6 or what would that be? Yeah, 16 and
But
8.
should you
So
break that cycle? Like if you do that every day for your like should you fast for 5 days and then not fast and go back to your eating 3 meals a day? Like should you is there a
no,
time where
if
you
you
break that up or does it could you realistically intermittent fast for the rest of your life and just that's okay or should you break that up?
no, you could. I mean, you definitely could. If you want to lose weight quickly and probably one of the most healthiest manners, you want to have more energy. You want to like rev your body's like internal engine up, so to speak. Intermittent fasting is a great way because when you intermittent fast, your body's hormonal balance is going to shift. For men, you're going to start releasing more testosterone, more adrenaline, because when you don't eat, that's what happens. Your body's hormones start to, shift and
If you
change.
really want to get if you really want to get jacked up, you just start
I
get real
mean, dude,
excited.
when you don't
Just
eat
get
and you go
that.
to that temporary fast, and then when you do eat, you want to have healthy proteins, healthy sources of food.
Yeah.
You don't want to go to Taco Bell or McDonald's, but you'll see a lot of weight come off quickly because most people's weight is that water weight, and like you'll start to discard that water weight. You'll look leaner, you'll feel good, you'll have more mental clarity, more energy. You'll be shocked at as to how much energy you have. That's the thing that most people don't understand is like when you fast, you get this crazy energy, and you're like, damn, like this is insane. I feel like I can work all day long. I'm not even tired. Like I feel amazing. Your sleep will improve, your libido, you'll feel strong. Like across the board, it has a lot of benefits.
Well, I've loved it. Like I just started again after we got back from vacation and I was like eating clean, working out, going on vacation, coming back. Like all I wanted was my meal preps. I hated being gone, not having my meal preps and getting back to my routine. And then the first thing I did was like, I'm going to start intermittent fasting when I got home. It was like, I knew what it would do to my body. I knew that I would cut weight. So when I came back from vacation, I dropped 10 pounds in a week
Wow.
by, yeah. So when I came home, I was like, shit, like water weight from sitting around, just not, not in my routine. I wasn't running like that. Like, my routine was all screwed up and I just had a bunch of water weight and not eating clean when I was on vacation. And so when I got home, because now that I understand my body better, right? Going through this process, when I got home, I was like, well, I know how to fix this. Michelle's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, I've done this. Like, I'm just gonna start intermittent fasting. I'll eat my meal preps and I'll go run. And like the weight will fall off. And I just started like 1 pound, 1 pound, 1 pound. And I told her this morning, like, I already lost like almost 10 pounds. And she's like, no way. And I was like, it's water weight and stuff. You know what I mean? Like people get discouraged and like they get on the scale and like, oh my God. And I'm like, well, then make the changes, but you have to know the systems and processes and you have to understand your own body, right? To make those changes. And intermittent fasting is a great tool for it. So that's why I just wanted to, like, a lot of people are like, oh no, it's, somebody said it's bad for you. And I'm like, I don't know. Well, I don't know anybody that's died from intermittent fasting. Maybe there is, but I don't think it's
It's so funny when people say
like,
that. It it's so funny when people say that. Like we have the most obese country in the world. 40% of men are considered obese, and people say stupid stuff like that. Like
Hey,
the
Sean, what
whole
about the
country.
people that are overweight that are giving you fitness advice? I always love that one. They're like, no, do this. Look at you. Like you're talking about the guy from with the donut. It's like, it'd be like the military guy with the donut giving you fitness advice. It's like, dude, what? No, that's not going to work. I'm going to take advice
Yeah,
from you.
yeah. I mean, the funniest thing is like people who don't have results trying to argue with people who have results.
Oh,
It's like,
God.
dude, the reason you don't have results is because the way you're thinking, and it's very evident right now by the fact of you like trying to argue and prove a point. So, I mean, it's a lack of understanding. It's ignorance, honestly.
So I want to talk a little bit about we haven't hit is like working out. Like you're jacked, you're ripped. Like I've worked out with you. It's pretty fucking impressive. I've never been around someone that rips their shirt off and I'm like, holy shit, like your chest is like this thick and it's muscle. So a lot of discipline, a lot of eating right, but strength training. This is something that I never understood how to work out. Like we talked about nutrition, we've talked about mindset, but there's a big difference in building muscle, right? So you got to eat the protein. So you got to get with a coach. You got to understand your body, your nutrition. Now we say you're on the right. So like for me, I'm using my own personal experience, right? So mindset's right. Get the right coach. Get my meal plans down. Get my cardio down, right? Exercise, move. Mine was over 10,000 steps, right? That was my first goal. I had to move over 10,000 steps a day. So water, the steps, figuring out that routine, working with you to get through that. And then it's like, now I need to build muscle, right? So let's talk about like weight training or lifting and just how do guys actually get that physical look like you? Like, what is it they need to do to make that happen when in the
Yeah.
gym side of it?
Yeah, I mean it's essentially bodybuilding. So what you're doing is you're gonna rip your muscle fibers so they grow back stronger. So like you have to know very specifically what workouts to do for certain body parts and how frequently to do them. How much do you do when you go to the gym, right? So you segment body parts. Let's say you'll do chest and triceps together, back and biceps, and then legs or whatever. Like you got to know what muscle groups you're working together and then how many reps, how many sets. Like you want to work a weight that is very difficult to get more than 12 reps, but you can get about 8 to 12. 8 to
Got it.
12
Okay.
reps is what's going to build that
Going to
aesthetic muscle,
And then
right?
going to fail. Well, when I worked out with you, I've never felt going to failure. When we were at what Victor's, I think that was the first time we worked out was at Profit Rocket in the morning, right? And so and then I remember because you're like, oh, let's lower the weight down for this guy, and because we don't know, right? And then you're like, oh shit, he's kind of got some farmer strength here. So but like then, so when we worked out and uh I want you to talk about going to failure, right? Like going when you basically hit your reps like that 12 or like I think it was like we were doing reps of 12 and then you guys would lower the weight and just tell me to go more, right? Just go and then you basically can't do any more, right? And then you lower the weight some more and you keep going. And that tearing down, like when I got done working out, like my chest and my arms just felt hard for like I think we were there 2 days. So like literally in just two workouts, my
Yeah.
chest and my arms, I felt that for a week.
Yeah, I mean,
That
most
routine.
people, most people don't work out very hard. Like, how crazy is it that all these people go to the gym and they don't look like they go to the gym? Like, dude, if you're going to the fucking gym, get results. So what does that
Dude,
mean?
fucking CrossFit. Like I went to CrossFit for years and years and years, and not one person in there looks any different. And when I see them in town, I'm like, I'm the only fucker that looks different than all you guys. Like for the
Yeah, I
most part.
mean,
There's a couple in there that have done, but if they look good, Sean, they've looked good forever. Like for as long as I've known them. I haven't seen anybody that I worked out with that went in and I've seen a transformation. That's what I was getting at. Like they haven't in
well,
2 years, they haven't progressed.
most people who go to the gym and don't have results, it's because they don't understand about nutrition. They're not giving that much focus to nutrition. And secondly, when they work out, they don't work out hard enough. Like you have to completely exhaust that muscle in order for it to grow back bigger and stronger. So when you lift, there has to be intensity. Like when you do a set of bench press, you want to lift a weight that's so heavy that when you get to 10 reps or 8 reps, like in between 8 and 12 is that perfect rep range. That when you get to that last rep, you cannot do another one. Then you want a spotter there, somebody to help you get a couple extra. So you're taking that muscle beyond failure. And there's ways to increase intensity, like what you were talking about earlier was drop sets. You do a set of 10 until you can't lift anymore, then you take a little weight off and you keep going. And you do that all the way until you're basically just moving the bar, and the bar feels like it's a million
Like it's
pounds.
yeah, it's
And
heavy as
so
shit.
you're doing that every day with all these different muscle groups. And the reason that fitness, man, is so empowering, think of the mentality and like the savage mentality that you form in the midst of those grueling workouts. Like when your muscles are just aching and burning, and you go to that dark place in your mind where you're like, fuck that, I'm going to keep pushing my body. Like you develop and callous your mind in a different way. And that callous mindset, it allows you to do different things in life. It allows you to not be affected by chaos, by adversity, by life circumstances, and allows you to really like push through difficult shit, whether it's at home in your marriage, raising kids, running your business. Like you callous your
Sleep better,
mentality.
right? You sleep better when you feel better and you're eating clean
Oh
and you're
yeah, I mean,
working out. Like
here's the thing. Nothing in my life has ever had the impact on how I feel and how I live like fitness has. I mean, when I got incarcerated, Jesse, I was coming off of drugs and alcohol. I was a 23-year-old kid who was lost, and now I'm facing life in prison. Talk about anxiety and stress and fear. Like earlier, I was making fun of those words, anxiety and depression. But dude, this shit was real. Like my life is over. They're telling me, Sean, you're never getting out. You're done. And so the amount of like internal turmoil and pain and regret and mental discord that I experienced on a daily basis was horrendous. Like that's why people kill themselves in those situations because they can't take it. And so what I started doing was I started doing burpees in my cell until I was so exhausted and covered in sweat I couldn't push myself up off the ground. And when I did that, I would find these moments of peace and tranquility. I couldn't believe it, but like I would fight so long, so hard until suddenly that fear and that negative energy just dissipated. It was almost
yeah.
like the more I would sweat, the more that negative energy was coming out of me. And all of a sudden, I'd have, maybe an hour or two of inner peace, and I'd be able to finish my day. Maybe then I'd write a letter home. I'd be able to actually sit down and read a book. And I thought, wow, that was amazing. Like, so I just started doing that every day, every day, every day. And all of a sudden, my whole perspective on life started to change. And I'd have these thoughts and ideas in the midst of my workout. And I'd finish my workout and I'd feel proud of myself. And everything internally and in my mind started changing because I was using fitness as a catalyst for mental and spiritual growth. And when I figured that process out, I was like, dude, I'm doing this for the rest of my life. Like this saved me. This saved me. I fought to instill that hope. It gave me that determination to push through each difficult day. And so now coming home, I'm a different person. And since then, I've been able to do things in my life I never would have if I didn't create that person through those difficult endeavors.
Very people following you if you were the fat guy eating a donut right now, would there be?
Bro, if I was just a drug addict loser like I used to be, I'd be dead in the street or homeless or in jail. Like
Dude.
those are the people that society looks down upon. So if you want to be someone who's exceptional, you got to do exceptional shit. And like for me, it's not even just the bare minimum easy stuff we're talking about. Like you got to, dude, you get one life. Why would you not push yourself to the extreme?
Yeah.
Like Jesse, why would you not sign up for a 100-mile run one day just to say you did it, just to
Well,
experience that?
I can
Like
tell I can tell you that I'm glad you brought that up because I didn't know who David Goggins was, okay?
yeah,
Like I didn't know who all of these people. I'm a farmer, I'm a trucker, I work in my business. Like I was not following influencers, okay, a couple years ago. So people are like, you don't know who any of these people. I'm like, dude, I've been driving truck and like just baling hay and working. Like I don't I my 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 life was like this fucking tunnel of what I did. Okay. And so then the other day I was like, I should probably figure out who this David Goggins guy is, right? Because he's probably going to be in an event one of these days. And then I'm like, holy shit, it says this guy ran across like America or something. Like, is that really what he did? Like, is like, or he
dude, get
ran
his
like,
book. Get his
and I
book.
was
Can't
like,
hurt me. Read his book. Can't hurt me. Like he's done incredible things, and it just goes to show you what we're all capable of when you can develop that type of mentality. Like
it's
it's
like,
it's incredible.
and that's what I just, you hear so many times, I can't do it. Like, I don't have the time. I can't do it. It's not possible. Like
Well, people can, but they
they
won't,
yeah.
Jesse. So it's not I can't, it's I won't. Like
Right.
if
And
you're
but
listening
that's
to
what they're
this,
saying is they're saying I can't, but that's what it means is I won't, is what you're
I
saying.
won't because I don't see the importance of it, or I won't because I don't believe I can do it. Like that's what it comes down to. I either don't see the value in it or I don't think I can do it. If you see the value, you're going to find a way to do it. But if you don't believe you can do it, you're going to make an excuse. And
Right.
that's what most people do. And most people don't have awareness to really understand why they do what they do, or why they feel the way they feel, or why they have the thoughts they have. Like, where's this book I'm reading? I want everyone to read this. It's in the kitchen, but I'm at my home office. It's called Letting Go by David R. Um, fuck, first his name.
But it's
It's
called
called
letting go.
Letting Go. David R. Hawkins. Dude,
Okay.
this book is life changing. So if you're somebody that really wants to understand why you are the way you are, really understand like your own self from a mental standpoint, emotional standpoint, and how human beings operate, and you really want to get the most out of life, you should definitely get that book.
Well, and Sean, you have a book. So what's tell them where your book you have a copy
Yeah,
of yours there.
I should. So
But I
yeah, I
mean
do.
but I think for anybody that watches this or is listening to this or sees the reels, there's your book.
So my book's called Prison of Your Own. It talks about being 23, facing life in prison, and what that experience taught me. But more so than just a story about a guy going to prison for something he didn't do. Like that's pretty compelling. Convicted of a crime I didn't do. It's the mental and spiritual transformation that I went through while I was incarcerated that changed my whole world. Like I'm a different person you see right here talking to you than I was before my incarceration, because of the shift in my mentality that I made, the shift in my perspective, and really my identity. So if you're somebody that wants to get the most out of life, honestly, and you have some things inside of you, maybe past trauma, negative beliefs, addictions, like anything that you know is going to hold you back, I talk all about how I overcame depression, addiction, limiting beliefs, all the stuff that was keeping me stuck in life, how I broke free of that mental prison and was able to really like create a life that I truly love and I'm proud of. And it's within all of you. It's within reach for all of you, but you just aren't doing it because you don't know how to do it. So in my book, I teach you how. I talk about what I did, and I think it'd be super valuable for anyone that wants to change.
Yeah. No, and I just think, I knew we would let that go. And you're talking about books, and I'm like, well, shit, you have a book. That's like one of my goals. I started in my notes in my phone, dude. I have folders organized, and I just pick away at it. Like now what I do is I make a folder, right, of something I want to work on. Like I've started this folder like 3 times of a book, and so I've actually been redoing like I started writing it my notes because I would think about things, right? They'd come to my mind. And when I was at Andy's house, that was one of the things that he goes is he asked me about what I do and my background and all that. And it took him like 5 or 10 minutes. He's like, book, like you need to explain this. You need to share this. And so a lot of what I do is I storytell, right? So me storytelling my experiences through social media, writing those out is helping me basically plant the seed in my mind by storytelling in the book, right? So for me, like my self-belief problem was that someone would want to hear my story, right? Like who wants to hear this shit? And so by writing it and putting it on social media and getting positive feedback, people are like, I really like this. So I understand what they want to hear, because I don't want to write a book if it's not valuable to someone, right? Like your whole
Yeah,
point of doing that is to change someone's perspective and shift their mindset. And so for me, now that I see through social media myself storytelling my experience, I achieved this, I achieved that. It's like, no, I failed doing this, but I overcame this problem, and then overcoming that, I've now achieved this. That's the difference, right? It's not just promoting your wins all the time, but you do need to talk about your wins, because nobody wants to follow someone that's not successful or fat eating the donut. So
100%. Yeah, you want
yeah.
people to know that you've been where they're at. You want to be relatable. You got to be vulnerable and transparent about the things you struggle with, because that creates trust. But then you got to show people what you did to change. You got to show them the bridge that got you from there to where you're at now, and then the results you have, so they see the value in who you are and what you teach.
Well, the picture that we're talking about that I did the post of me a couple years ago, and then me recently this last year, when we first got on this call and we talked about that. It's like, that's why I make that post, is to motivate people to see this is the change that can happen in a short amount of time, right? Like, our goals, Michelle and I's goals were completely different that day. Okay, we had to do goal planning at that period. So we had to write our goals. I think it was a 1, 3, and a 5-year goals that we did. And like, 3-year was to be, which was a push, because I told everybody in my life that I'd never be married. Like, every single person was like, there's no way Jesse's ever going to get married. Because that's what I told everybody, right? That's all I knew, was all these bad experiences. Everybody around me talked so negatively about being married. And then when I got around people, other people outside of my community, and I got around new people, and they're like, no, you need to have a partner. You need to build a relationship. It's not good. It was completely different environment, right? That's what changed my life, was getting around different people, getting around a different environment, getting around positivity. That's what it was, right? And so a lot of people, it's their family. They have a shitty family at home that's keeping them back. Like, maybe it's cousins or aunts or parents or dad, like whatever that is. And they're telling them all this bad information, right? Like, oh, don't do that. Let's just go to the bar, right? You don't need to go run, Sean. Like, why are we doing all this? We have all this negativity around us. And until we get out of that, and I think that's what's powerful at like the events, like the mastermind, right? Like, how many people did we change? Like, look at Travis's posting, like how much weight he's already dropped. And I asked him, what was it, Travis, that made you, change? And he goes, your event. That's what made me change, was coming there and listening to you guys, listening to Sean. Like, you guys pushed me. He's been in shape before. He just let himself go. He just wasn't taking care of myself, focusing on the business, right? And so I think that's where I'm so passionate about the events, is I know that when someone comes to an event, I know that when they leave, their life can change if they want to change. We're giving them the tools and the things and the tips and the actions. We will tell them and show you what you need to do. But if they go home and they don't take those steps, they won't change.
Yeah. And, a lot of people listening go, oh, well, I know this stuff. Like, you guys are telling me this stuff and I hear it. Why would I come to the event? And the reason is because when you get out of your comfort zone, that's a catalyst for growth. So the 3 ways that humans change their behavior is, number 1, they go through a traumatic experience that shocks them to the core, like me going to prison, and they're willing to change right away. Most people don't go through that. So they do the same shit forever and they never change. So the second thing is having novel experiences. Novel experiences like going to events, getting out of your typical routine, is a catalyst for growth, because you're going to be uncomfortable. Your nerves are going to be going. You're going to be talking to people, sharing stuff out loud. And it's such a powerful catalyst for growth. You leave that event and you have these aha moments, these epiphanies, these creative ideas. Now you start to think differently, and now you're feeling differently. Then you go back home and you have to implement that stuff. And that's the third component, which is discipline or consistency. Like, you need repetition every day to change and reprogram your brain. That's why having a coach, being in the community, hearing this stuff daily is so important, because it starts to reprogram the way you think. But if you're just sitting there with your same old friends or your social circle, you're not getting to new events, you're not getting new information, you're not meeting new people, the likelihood of you changing is very small. And that's why most people stay stuck. And so if you don't understand how to change, you've tried in the past, or you don't believe you can, like, come to Jesse's mastermind and we'll show you in time, and we'll show you in person, in real time, how to change. Like, you'll leave there feeling different. There'll be a spark inside you. There'll be these thoughts created that you didn't have before. You'll leave there feeling different for the rest of your life. Then you can go home and implement what you learn at his event.
Well, and the thing for me was, what really changed for me was that I went to several, right? So most people can't go to one after another, right? But I did is I started.
Should if you can. Yeah,
you should if you can. Then what I did was I told myself, I'm going to go to 3 or 4 events a year minimal, right? I need to do this quarterly, because what happens if you don't go enough? So I'll see people that'll go to an event and then they don't go to one, like friends of mine. They'll go to, and then they're all pumped up. That'll be 2 years, 2 or 3 years goes by, and guess what? Nothing freaking changes. And because I was going so often, that's what pushed me. Because when we get home, we get busy, we get back in our rut, we're back into the business. That self doubt sets back in, right? And if you don't go back out and get that beat back into your head that no, you can do it, you'll just stay at home. You won't change, right? And then you hear the money thing, and it's like, they're like, well, I can't afford to do it. And I'm like, send me your bank statement. Let's see what you've bought in the last couple months. Like, if you really want to change, like for me, the first investment in myself was $32,500, and I did not have the money. And people are like, oh, whatever, you get all this stuff. And put me out of business. So I was jeopardizing my whole business of going to an event. Like, because the deal that we had was that they needed me to get to a certain net profit revenue or break even point by the end of the year. And that $32,000 was jeopardizing that. But I knew that I needed to change, because here's the problem, was just getting to that point wasn't enough, right? Like, yeah, I might hit that target, but I know that they're going to want me to maintain. And what I knew is I needed to learn more. Like the amount that what happened for us is we grew the business, we doubled it in like 1 year. And so what happened was the education that I needed, the finances, the employee skills, the business side of it. I wasn't focused on the fitness side at that point. That came later, but that I needed more information. That's what I was looking for. And once I started going and networking, I realized, holy shit, I don't know anything. And I thought before that, Sean, I thought I knew everything, right? Like I'm doing all this revenue, I'm doing $30 million in sales and da. And dude, I didn't know shit. Like, you get outside into a different room and it's just like somebody does this right on top of you. They just push you down. The first room I went into here, I think there was 8 businesses in this room, and they're like, what's your growth? It's like million, 2 million, 3 million. I'm thinking, oh yeah, I got this, right? Guys like, what's your revenue? And they're like 250 million. And I'm like, shit. You know what I mean? It's like, and so $250 million revenue company, I'm like, why are you here? They were there for people. They had a lot of employees, right? I think like 1,000 employees, and they were there. They had 1,000 employees, and they were still looking for advice, outside information. They were willing to invest in that company for an outside perspective to work on their people side, right? You got to get out and you got to get educated. That's just what it's about. I mean, if you don't get out, the connections that you meet, like go and meeting people and all that stuff, like you speak all the time. How does that look at all the connections you make speaking? Like, that's massive for you.
Yeah, I mean, last thing I'm going to say, because I have to wrap this up in a second. Getting out of your comfort zone is going to create this spark, right? And then so you meet new people, and you see people who have similar results, lower results, higher results, and like being able to observe people who are further ahead than you on the journey in real time. It's so valuable. You see things that they're doing differently, and what you will start to recognize is that they're not superior to you. They might have more time in the business, more time implementing these things, and they're just a little further ahead than you on the journey. So one of the best things is like getting around really successful people, picking their brain, observing them. That's going to be an education in itself. But then the takeaway is always like, damn, if they can do it, I can do it. Like, if he could hit that next level, like I can, I know I can. And that goes back to why it's so important to take care of yourself and take care of your health and your personal routines every day, because then you have that belief inside of you. If you're not taking care of yourself and you're not doing the work on yourself, you're not going to believe that you can do the bigger things in life. It's just the way it works. And so, being able to go to events, and for me, like, I speak at a lot of events. I meet so many people. I build relationships in person, and I create future opportunities right then and there on the spot. Like, people that I meet, we always end up doing stuff together, whether it's business, going on trips, hosting masterminds. Like, that's the way it works. And so by getting into these rooms and meeting people, you're going to learn, you're going to grow, and you're going to create future opportunities that wouldn't be there if you just stayed back at home and missed out on these opportunities.
Well, and I can't believe how much, even inside 10-4 coaching, I can't believe how many people are doing business with each other. right? Like I see these guys and I see it because they're posting. So most of these guys weren't using social media before this hardly at all, right? They were using it to like maybe watch what was going on. And then we pushed them to start promoting and posting what they're doing. And then all of a sudden, like this guy's a farmer in Texas and there's a guy in the group that's a trucker. And now I see, because I'm telling them, hey, dude, you guys got to post. And now I see them doing business together, right? Like they're fixing their own problems inside the community. So there's so much more to this, network of people, because it's really, you're really building a network, right? You're building a community of people to work together. And if people are willing to invest in themselves, I trust a lot more that they're going to do the right thing in business. And so like for me, if I know someone's, investing in themselves and they paid to be in this community, they're paying to go to events, they're typically a stand-up person, right? They're wanting to do better things. And so I ultimately trust them more just from that experience.
100%.
Like that's building your brand. They're building their machine, they're building their brand, they're wanting to be better. And so I think it's easier for people to do business with each other, knowing that all those people are basically working together for a better purpose, right? They're wanting to better their lives. So I think it's just huge. Everybody that watches this or listens to this, you guys got to get out, like get outside your box, whatever it takes, whether it's you need to work on your fitness, your business, it doesn't matter, but you have to get into outside information, podcasts, read books, everything. But yeah. And I know we didn't get into that